The silence in the command center of the alien mothership was almost unbearable. Lights flickered across the cold metal walls as the Council of the Galaxy's most powerful aliens gathered around a vast, high-tech holographic screen. The air hummed with the quiet buzzing of an advanced computing system that processed data from across the universe. At the center of this hive of activity stood the Emperor, a towering alien figure. His skin was a pale, ghostly shade of blue, his features sharp and angular, his eyes glowing with an unsettling crimson hue. His long, clawed fingers tapped on the armrest of his chair as he watched the screen with an eerie calm. Beside him, his council laughed mockingly. They were all gathered to discuss Earth, an insignificant backwater planet that had long caught their attention. The holographic screen flickered, showing Earth in all its glory. Blue oceans, vast cities, and rolling landscapes. On the screen, humans were going about their daily lives. Pets, a strange concept to the alien empire, were visible too. Dogs, cats, and even some bizarre creatures were seen being pampered by their human owners. "Look at them," the Emperor scoffed, his voice booming with authority. "These weak humans. And look at their pets. Pathetic. Creatures so far beneath us, they're not even worth a second glance. They don't deserve to be anything but playthings for us." The alien council chuckled, their laughter cold and echoing through the metallic walls. One of them, a slender alien with sharp, jagged teeth, sneered. "How can they consider such beasts as companions? Their pets are weak, just like them. They're a joke. It's almost amusing." Another council member, his eyes flickering with the light of 1,000 galaxies, added, "We could make those pets part of our collection. Perhaps they will serve as decoration in our empire. They'll be nothing more than trophies. We should make an example of them, just as we will with Earth's weaklings." The Emperor smiled cruelly. "Exactly. We'll invade Earth, show them the true meaning of power. Their pets, their homes, their cities, they'll all be ours. The humans won't even know what hit them." As the Emperor spoke, a deep, resonating hum filled the room. The screens began to show the alien fleet, vast and imposing, hidden in the vastness of space, cloaked and ready for action. The Emperor waved a hand, and the cloak on the screen disappeared, revealing the monstrous warships that floated in the black expanse. "A planet of weaklings," the Emperor said with a satisfied smirk. "Our superior technology will crush them effortlessly. We'll show them who truly rules the galaxy. We'll take their pets, their homes, their lives, and make them part of our new empire." The aliens all shared a laugh at the thought of humans' helplessness, unaware that their arrogance would soon be their downfall. The Emperor's voice deepened, becoming colder and more commanding. "Prepare the fleet. It's time for Earth to bow before us. Activate the cloaking device." A moment later, the screen flickered once more. The colossal alien ships, now fully cloaked, moved closer to Earth. Their size was incomprehensible, their weapons primed and ready. The cloaking device was engaged, and all communication with Earth was cut off. The planet below continued to spin in peaceful ignorance, its inhabitants going about their lives, oblivious to the terrifying presence looming above them. The Emperor smiled, his plan unfolding perfectly. But while the aliens reveled in their superiority, far below, in a small corner of Earth, an entirely different story was unfolding. We now shift to Bonner, a young human soldier who had just received his first real combat mission. He was training hard in a military base, honing his skills in the art of warfare. Bonner was tall and strong, his eyes filled with a sense of determination that came from years of hard work. But despite his strength, he wasn't naive. He knew that his planet was unprepared for an invasion of this scale. Still, he had faith in his people. As he trained, Bonner's thoughts often turned to his loyal companion, Rex, his dog. Rex wasn't just a regular dog. He was far smarter than any ordinary animal. Bonner had raised him from a pup, and over the years, they had formed an unbreakable bond. Rex understood commands that most dogs could never comprehend. He had a sense of loyalty that surpassed any humans, and Bonner knew that Rex would fight alongside him until the very end. Bonner sat down for a brief moment of rest, his rifle at his side, and he glanced at Rex, who was resting calmly beside him. The dog's eyes gleamed with intelligence as they locked with Bonner's. "Ready for this?" Bonner whispered, his voice steady but filled with anticipation. Rex wagged his tail, almost as if to say, "Always." As Bonner prepared for the mission ahead, he had no idea that his world was about to be turned upside down. The peaceful morning in the base would soon be shattered by an invasion of unimaginable proportions. Back in the command center, the Emperor watched his screens, satisfied that everything was proceeding according to plan. His fleet was moving closer to Earth, the cloaking device ensuring that their arrival would be a complete surprise. Suddenly, an officer rushed into the room, his face pale. "My lord, the cloaking device, it's malfunctioning. The humans, they've detected our presence." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. How could they detect us?" The officer frantically looked at his monitors. "We don't know, but we're being detected. Our ships are showing up on their radar." The Emperor stood up, his voice filled with fury. "Increase the speed of the cloaked ships. If these weaklings have somehow detected us, we will destroy their defenses before they can react." The alien fleet surged forward, invisible to most, but for some unknown reason, Earth's military had already started to respond. A blip on the radar sent alarms ringing across the planet. The scene now shifts rapidly to Bonner and his fellow soldiers, who are still unaware of the scale of the threat they face. But suddenly, the alarms blare throughout the military base. The ground shakes as the first shockwave from the alien ships rips through the atmosphere. "Get to your stations," shouted the commander as Bonner grabbed his rifle and ran towards the armory. Rex, ever loyal, followed closely behind. His ears perked, sensing the urgency in the air. Bonner's heart raced as he rushed to the control room, the sounds of distant explosions rattling the walls. Through the windows, he saw the sky light up with a brilliant flash. A fleet of unknown ships was emerging from the clouds, and the terror they carried with them was just beginning. It was time for Earth to face its destiny. Bonner knew that the battle would be unlike anything he had ever imagined. But with Rex by his side, he felt a flicker of hope. They were ready. The aliens may have thought Earth's pets were weak, but they were about to learn a lesson the hard way. The sky darkened as the alien fleet decloaked, unleashing chaos on Earth. Massive warships, each one the size of a city, emerged from the cloak of invisibility, their jagged metal edges gleaming under the light of the sun. The atmosphere crackled with energy as these colossal ships hovered above the Earth's major cities, casting long shadows that stretched across entire regions. Below, humanity had no warning, no time to prepare. A loud boom echoed through the air as the first ship descended into the heart of a bustling metropolis. Its colossal form dwarfed everything beneath it. From its underside, hundreds of robotic soldiers dropped to the ground, each one moving with terrifying precision and speed. The sound of their landing was deafening, like a thunderclap that rattled every window, every building, every nerve in the city. Their dark, metallic bodies gleamed as they marched forward, weapons raised, ready to wreak havoc. Cities that had once been symbols of human achievement were now nothing more than targets. The alien fleet's advanced weaponry rained down upon the streets, vaporizing entire buildings in seconds. A fiery wave of destruction swept across the land as laser beams cut through skyscrapers, and explosions obliterated everything in their path. The ground shook with the force of the alien onslaught, and within moments, humanity's first line of defense was reduced to rubble. But the humans fought back with every ounce of strength they had. They weren't going to give up without a fight. Soldiers scrambled to form defensive lines, launching counterattacks with everything from outdated missiles to experimental tech. They knew they were underpowered, but they were resourceful, determined to defend their planet. Bonner, along with his squad, was stationed in a military compound on the outskirts of the city. As the attack began, Alarms blared, and the team rushed to their stations. Bonner's heart pounded in his chest, but his resolve never wavered. He had trained for this moment his entire life. He grabbed his rifle, checking the settings, and motioned to his squad. They moved quickly, taking cover behind the nearest structures. "Stay sharp," Bonner ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. His squad nodded, but the tension in the air was palpable. The rumbling of explosions in the distance reverberated through the ground, shaking their feet. Then, without warning, the first wave of robotic soldiers appeared. The ground beneath them cracked open as the robotic warriors marched forward, their glowing red eyes scanning the environment for threats. They were fast, agile, and relentless. Humans tried to fire back, but their weapons were no match for the aliens' superior technology. Missiles were intercepted mid-flight, and gunfire bounced harmlessly off the robots' reinforced armor. In the blink of an eye, the battle turned into a massacre. Bonner's squad fought bravely, but it was clear they were outmatched. One by one, his comrades fell, their bodies crumpling under the relentless assault. Bonner's heart sank as he watched his friends, his fellow soldiers, be wiped out in an instant. The aliens were unstoppable, their sheer firepower overwhelming everything in their path. It was then that Bonner felt a sharp, searing pain in his side. A blinding flash of light exploded beside him, throwing him to the ground. His vision blurred, and the world seemed to slow down. Blood poured from his side, and his breath came in ragged gasps. The ground beneath him felt cold, and for a moment, it seemed as if everything was closing in around him. But then he heard a low growl, a familiar sound that brought him back to reality. Through the haze of pain, Bonner looked up to see Rex, his loyal dog, bounding toward him. Rex's sharp teeth bared. The dog charged at the nearest robot that was preparing to strike Bonner. With lightning speed, Rex leaped, sinking his fangs into the robot's leg and tearing it apart with one swift motion. The robot collapsed, sparks flying from the exposed wires. Bonner's heart raced as he struggled to his feet, his hand clutching his injured side. Rex barked, nudging him with his snout and pulling him toward cover. Despite the ongoing battle, the dog seemed to sense Bonner's pain, guiding him with precision and determination. "Good boy, Rex," Bonner whispered, his voice weak but filled with gratitude. Rex's eyes locked onto his, a silent promise passing between them. The bond between man and pet was unbreakable, and Rex was proving just how much that bond meant. Without hesitation, the dog dragged Bonner through the wreckage, taking him into an abandoned building that had once been a high-rise apartment. As they moved through the ruins, Bonner's mind raced. His squad was gone, the city was lost. But one thing was clear: humanity was not going down without a fight. He looked at Rex, his companion and protector, and realized something that filled him with both hope and dread. The aliens had underestimated them. They had laughed at the humans' pets, but they hadn't understood the true power that lay within them. Rex wasn't just any dog. He was far more than that. The loyalty, intelligence, and sheer will of animals like Rex were not things the aliens could comprehend. While the aliens relied on their high-tech weaponry and advanced robots, humanity had something else, a unique edge. The bond between humans and their pets, the determination to protect one another no matter the cost, was a strength that could not be measured by technology. As Bonner and Rex crouched in the shadows, the sounds of battle raged outside. The distant roar of alien warships filled the air, and explosions shook the very foundations of the city. But Bonner's mind was focused. They had to fight back, even if they were outmatched. The aliens had underestimated them, but that would be their downfall. Meanwhile, high above in the skies, the alien warships continued to rain destruction down on the planet. The enormous ships loomed over the ruins of the city, their weapons blasting away entire blocks, turning them into nothing but ashes. The robotic soldiers continued their relentless march, wiping out any human resistance they encountered. Yet, despite the overwhelming firepower, something was beginning to shift. The aliens had expected an easy victory. They had expected humans to cower in fear. But Bonner, despite the chaos and loss, knew that humanity's spirit wasn't so easily broken. The pets they had mocked, the loyalty they had dismissed, were now their greatest weapon. And it was only a matter of time before the aliens realized just how wrong they were. Bonner and Rex knew the road ahead would be long and dangerous. But as they crouched in the ruins, hidden from the alien forces, Bonner's resolve hardened. He wouldn't give up. Not for himself, not for his fallen comrades, and certainly not for the people of Earth. They would fight back. They would survive, and they would win. Together. The invasion had just begun, but Bonner and Rex were ready to lead the charge, one that would take the fight to the aliens in ways they could never have imagined. The battle raged on as Earth's cities were turned to rubble. The sound of explosions filled the air, and the relentless assault of the alien forces seemed unending. But even in the darkest moments, something strange began to happen. Humanity's pets, once mocked by the invaders, started to exhibit extraordinary abilities that defied all logic and explanation. Bonner and Rex had managed to escape the destruction and regroup with a small group of survivors. Hidden in the ruins of a once thriving city, they worked together to form a resistance, planning to strike back against the aliens. But it wasn't just the humans who were becoming more formidable. Their pets were, too. Rex, Bonner's loyal dog, had already proven himself time and time again. His incredible intelligence and unwavering loyalty had saved Bonner's life in the chaos of the initial invasion. But as the days passed, Rex's abilities seemed to grow stronger. He could understand complex commands without being told, dodging alien lasers with an agility that seemed almost impossible for a normal dog. There were times when Rex seemed to sense danger before it arrived, his keen instincts always keeping Bonner one step ahead. But Rex wasn't the only pet displaying unusual powers. All across the planet, animals of every kind began to exhibit strange and inexplicable abilities. Cats, once aloof and distant, moved with superhuman agility, leaping to heights that defied physics. Birds communicated with each other in ways that no one could understand, and even the most domesticated creatures, from rabbits to hamsters, seemed to possess newfound strength and intelligence. As Bonner and his group watched in awe, they realized that their pets were more than just companions. They were allies, and perhaps even something more. The bond between humans and animals, forged over thousands of years, had unlocked something in these creatures. It was as if the very essence of the human struggle for survival had awakened a hidden power in the pets that once were seen as mere decorations or playthings. One particular incident stood out among the many. As Bonner and his group tried to infiltrate an alien command post, they were met with a powerful force of robotic soldiers. The odds were stacked against them, but Bonner knew they had to press forward. Rex, by his side, was prepared to fight. They had entered the building, moving carefully through the dark hallways. The tension was palpable as they crept through the silent corridors, avoiding patrols and looking for an opportunity to strike. Suddenly, the door to the main control room burst open, and a wave of alien soldiers poured in. Bonner's heart raced as the battle began, the humans and their pets fighting side by side. Rex, as quick as lightning, darted past the first wave of robots, confusing them with his speed and agility. Bonner's heart swelled with pride as Rex jumped onto the back of one of the robots, using his teeth to rip open the control panel. The robot collapsed with a loud crash, its systems fried by Rex's quick thinking. But that was only the beginning. Another pet, a large, muscular cat named Shadow, leaped into the fray. Her eyes glowed with an eerie intensity, and she seemed to move as if she could predict the aliens' every move. With a series of lightning-fast swipes, she disabled several of the robots, her claws cutting through their metallic exteriors as if they were paper. Bonner watched in disbelief as the cat used its intelligence to avoid the robots' attacks, moving with a level of precision that no human could match. The real shock, however, came when a small group of dogs, led by a massive Rottweiler named Titan, stormed into the room. Unlike the other animals, Titan didn't fight with claws or teeth. He fought with his mind. With a low growl, Titan focused on one of the alien robots, and to everyone's amazement, the machine froze in place. A wave of static washed over its systems, rendering it completely immobile. The Rottweiler's eyes glowed briefly, a faint blue light, and the alien weapon powered down. Bonner's jaw dropped. Telepathy, he whispered, barely believing his own words. The pets weren't just fighting back. They were fighting back with powers no one had ever seen before. And as the humans watched, it became clear that these abilities were no coincidence. Something was happening to the animals, something that seemed tied to the very struggle of humanity itself. Bonner activated the pulse. A deep hum filled the tank as the energy began to build up, a surge of power unlike anything the aliens had seen. The pulse was unleashed, sending a shockwave through the battlefield. The aliens' cloaking devices flickered and then failed, exposing their warships and mechs to Bonner's crew for the first time. Their communication systems were disabled, and for a brief moment, the alien forces were blind and deaf to everything happening around them. For Bonner, it was the opening he had been waiting for. The tank's massive cannons roared as they unleashed a barrage of firepower, striking the alien warships with unrelenting force. The explosions lit up the night sky as the tank's missiles found their mark. The alien fleet, still disoriented from the pulse, was vulnerable, and Bonner's crew took full advantage of the opportunity. The aliens, realizing too late that their systems were failing, scrambled to regain control. The alien commander, a cold and calculating AI, watched in disbelief as his forces faltered. His perfect strategy was unraveling before his eyes. The museum piece that he had so casually dismissed had become a nightmare for his fleet, and now it was threatening to destroy everything he had worked for. Bonner's heart raced as the tank continued to fire, its old weapons still powerful enough to break through the alien defenses. The enemy was reeling, and with every shot that landed, the humans gained more ground. It was a victory, albeit small, but it was a victory nonetheless. The alien fleet began to regroup, but it was too late. Bonner and his crew had already turned the tide. The alien commander knew that this was no ordinary tank. The weapon's power was beyond anything he had anticipated, and the humans' resolve had proven to be just as strong. He had made a grave mistake by underestimating the power of humanity. His fleet was in disarray, and his carefully laid plans were falling apart. The battle was far from over, but the aliens were now on the defensive. Bonner's bold plan had worked, and for the first time since the fight began, the human tank was the one in control. The aliens had underestimated the power of an old museum piece, and they were about to pay the price. Bonner's crew, though battered and bruised, were filled with a renewed sense of hope. The energy pulse had given them the chance they needed, and now they were fighting back with everything they had. The tank, despite its age and wear, was still the most formidable weapon on the battlefield. But Bonner knew that this was just the beginning. The alien warship, still looming in the distance, was preparing for another assault. The pulse had given them a temporary advantage, but it wouldn't last forever. Bonner had no illusions about the challenge ahead. The warship was the real threat, and he would need every ounce of his strength and cunning to bring it down. "Keep pushing forward," Bonner said, his voice filled with determination. "We've got them on the ropes. We can win this." The crew, inspired by Bonner's leadership and the success of the energy pulse, nodded in agreement. They were no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for victory, for the future of humanity. The battle was far from won, but they had taken the first step toward defeating the alien invaders. As the tank roared back into action, Bonner couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. The odds were still stacked against them, but they had shown the aliens that humans were not to be underestimated. They had fought with everything they had, and now they were on the verge of victory. The alien commander, now fully aware of the human resolve, began to question his earlier assumptions. The humans were not weak, as he had believed. They were far stronger than he had ever imagined. In his attempt to destroy humanity, he had failed to see the true power that lay within the hearts of its people. The museum piece had become the weapon that would bring about his fleet's downfall, and in that realization, the alien commander knew that he had made a fatal mistake. The battle was not over, but the turning point had arrived. Bonner and his crew had proven that even the most outdated technology, when wielded with human determination, could defeat the most advanced forces in the galaxy. The aliens had made their first mistake, and now humanity was going to make them regret it. The war was far from over, but for the first time, the humans had the upper hand. The tank fired once more, and the battlefield was filled with the sound of victory. The aliens were retreating, their once proud fleet falling apart before the might of humanity. Bonner's heart swelled with pride, but he knew that this was just one battle in a much larger war. The aliens had made their mistake, and now humanity was ready to finish it. The battle had raged on for hours, and the air was thick with the sounds of destruction. Alien warships, their hulls scorched and cracked, hovered menacingly in Earth's orbit, their final wave of attacks ready to rain down on the last line of defense, the human tank. The alien fleet, now desperate to end the resistance, launched an all-out assault. Orbital bombardments cascaded from the sky, a storm of missiles and energy beams aimed directly at the tank. The force of the strikes was overwhelming, yet the tank stood firm, its ancient armor deflecting most of the damage. It wasn't just a relic of the past, it was a symbol of humanity's relentless will to survive. Bonner's grip tightened on the controls, his face illuminated by the flickering lights of the tank's internal systems. His heart pounded as he watched the missiles streak toward them. His crew, though exhausted and battered, stood ready for one last fight. They had taken on the alien fleet, fought back against mechs, drones, and advanced technology. And now they faced the ultimate challenge, the alien flagship. The battle wasn't just about defending Earth anymore. It was about avenging the fallen, standing against the overwhelming force of an entire alien fleet, and showing the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. Bonner's mind raced as he surveyed the damage. The tank was wounded, its systems failing, but it was still alive. The aliens had thrown everything they had at them, but they had not broken the human spirit. It was time for the final push. The tank surged forward, charging toward the heart of the alien assault. The air around them was thick with energy blasts and explosions, lighting up the sky in a spectacle of fire and fury. It was a final, desperate sprint to the alien flagship, a vessel that towered above the battlefield, its massive guns trained on the tank. The ground shook with every blast, but Bonner pressed on, knowing that the survival of humanity depended on this moment. He could see the enemy's robotic drones swarming the tank, trying to break its defenses, but with every strike, they were obliterated, their twisted, metallic bodies falling to the ground in a heap of scrap. As the tank neared the flagship, Bonner's crew fought with everything they had. The tank's weapons roared, blasting apart drones and warships alike, sending shockwaves through the enemy ranks. But the aliens had more reinforcements, giant mechs, and new drones, suddenly surrounding the tank from all sides. The odds were overwhelming, and Bonner knew that no matter how hard they fought, they couldn't win this battle with sheer firepower alone. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and running out of time. The alien flagship, with its enormous weaponry, was closing in. Bonner's thoughts turned to his crew. They had all sacrificed so much, and now it seemed as though their final stand would be in vain. His eyes flicked over to the empty seats where his fallen comrades had once sat. Jenkins, Miller, and the others. They had all given their lives for this fight. But now, as the alien forces closed in, Bonner made a decision. There was one last chance, one final move that could end this battle once and for all. He knew that it would be a sacrifice, but it was the only option left. The tank's eye, still operational despite the heavy damage, flashed an alert on the screen. Self-destruct sequence activated. Bonner's breath caught in his throat. He had initiated the sequence. It was a final, desperate measure, but if it worked, it could bring down the alien flagship. The idea of detonating the tank, his crew's last hope, was unbearable, but Bonner knew it was the only way. This was their final chance to strike a blow to the aliens and Indians. "Crew," Bonner said, his voice firm despite the weight of the decision. "We're going all in. This is it. Prepare for impact." His crew members didn't hesitate. They had fought together for so long, they understood. There was no turning back now. The tank moved toward the flagship with a fierce determination. The alien mechs tried to block their path, but the tank's weapons tore through them, reducing them to rubble. Each step felt like 1,000, and the tank's engines roared in defiance. Bonner's hands shook slightly on the controls, but his resolve was unwavering. This was their last chance. The flagship loomed large, and Bonner drove the tank directly toward it. The alien forces, realizing what was happening, tried to stop them, launching wave after wave of missiles and energy blasts. But it was too late. The tank had reached the heart of the alien fleet, and the self-destruct sequence was counting down. Bonner's heart raced as the countdown echoed in his ears. 5 seconds. 4. 3. The alien flagship fired its massive cannons, sending energy blasts ripping through the air. But Bonner held his course. He wasn't going to stop. This was the moment, and he wasn't about to let the aliens win. 1 second. The final second. The tank exploded in a blinding flash of light. The shockwave was felt across the battlefield as the energy pulse from the self-destruct mechanism tore through the alien flagship, sending it into a violent, fiery spiral. The alien warship shuddered as its core collapsed, and with a deafening roar, it detonated, sending debris and wreckage spiraling into space. The alien fleet, already reeling from their previous losses, was now shattered beyond repair. The flagship, their symbol of dominance, was no more. Bonner's crew, though no longer physically present, had given everything for this moment. The battle had been won, not by advanced technology or superior firepower, but by the unbreakable will of a few humans willing to sacrifice everything for their home. The alien forces, now leaderless and broken, began to retreat. The remaining warships fled, their once proud fleet in ruins. The humans had done it. They had won. The alien invasion had been repelled, and humanity had shown the galaxy that they would never be defeated. As the dust settled, the silence of space was broken only by the faint echo of Bonner's final command. For Earth, for humanity. It was over. The tank had done its job, and the aliens would never forget the day they underestimated humanity. The final assault had been the end of one chapter, but the beginning of another. The battle was won, but the war for the future of humanity was just beginning. The silence in space was almost deafening after the explosive destruction of the alien flagship. The wreckage of their once mighty fleet scattered across the black void like shattered dreams. For Earth, the battle was over. The alien invaders, once confident in their superiority, had been decisively defeated by an old tank, a forgotten piece of history that had become the last hope of humanity. The destruction of the alien flagship marked the end of their invasion, and with it, the beginning of a new era. The tank's self-destruct had crippled the alien fleet beyond repair. What had once been an unstoppable force was now reduced to a scattered mess of debris and broken warships. The alien mechs, drones, and advanced weaponry were no match for the sheer willpower and ingenuity of a single human tank and its brave crew. The alien forces, battered and leaderless, had no choice but to retreat, their pride shattered. They had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest, only to be met with the fierce resistance of a species they had underestimated for far too long. As the alien ships began to retreat into the depths of space, the human forces on Earth seized the opportunity to strike. The Earth's military, having watched the battle unfold from their strategic command centers, now launched a full offensive. The alien retreat was a chaotic one, and Earth's forces were quick to pick off the remaining warships. The alien invasion had been defeated, but Earth's forces were ready to ensure they would never return. The victory was swift and complete. While the alien fleet withdrew, Earth stood victorious. The battle that had seemed impossible to win just hours earlier was now a distant memory. The victory was not only a military triumph, but a profound moment for humanity. It was a victory that would be remembered for generations to come. The tank, once mocked as an outdated relic, had become the symbol of humanity's resilience. The aliens had come to destroy Earth, but instead, they had been driven out by a piece of technology older than their own civilization, a testament to the strength of the human spirit. In the aftermath of the battle, Bonner and his team were hailed as heroes. Their names would forever be etched in the history of Earth, remembered as the brave soldiers who had stood against an overwhelming alien threat and emerged victorious. Bonner's sacrifice, in particular, would be remembered as the ultimate act of heroism. His willingness to give his life to ensure the survival of humanity was a symbol of the selflessness that ran deep in the heart of human nature. Bonner, Jenkins, Miller, and the rest of the crew had given everything for their planet, and their courage would never be forgotten. The museum peace tank, which had once been mocked as an outdated piece of technology, was now displayed in Earth's greatest memorial to the victory. It was no longer a symbol of obsolescence, but of the indomitable human will to survive. The tank was a reminder that sometimes the most unlikely heroes can change the course of history. It was placed in a grand hall, surrounded by tributes to the brave men and women who had made the ultimate sacrifice. The tank, battered and scarred from the battle, stood proudly as the centerpiece of the memorial, a reminder that even the most outdated technology could become the ultimate weapon when wielded by the right hands. As Earth began to rebuild, the war seemed like a distant nightmare. Yet the memory of the battle lingered in the minds of everyone who had witnessed it. The aliens, once convinced of their own superiority, now knew the truth. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Earth was not a weak, defenseless planet waiting to be conquered. Earth was a home to a species that could fight back, that could rise from the ashes of defeat and stand proud. The galaxy would never forget the day when the humans had shown what they were truly capable of. In the final moments of the war, the alien commander, the leader who had orchestrated the invasion, sent one last message to Earth. His tone, once filled with arrogance and disdain, was now tinged with regret. He admitted the mistake of underestimating humanity. The tank, though old and seemingly outdated, had proven to be the most dangerous weapon they had faced. It was a lesson that would haunt the alien fleet for the rest of their lives. The commander acknowledged that Earth had done what no one had expected. They had fought back and won. The message was a humbling one. The alien commander, once so sure of his fleet's superiority, now found himself humbled by the humans he had thought of as weak. He had underestimated their ability to fight, to resist, and to endure. But in the end, it was humanity's strength and determination that had led them to victory. The tank, though a relic of the past, had become the symbol of that strength. The alien commander's words were a recognition of humanity's resilience, a testament to the fact that Earth was no longer a target for conquest. It was a planet of warriors. Back on Earth, the victory was celebrated in a way that would be remembered for centuries. The government held a massive memorial for Bonner and his team. It was a somber occasion, but also one filled with pride. The people of Earth gathered to honor the fallen heroes who had given their lives to protect their planet. Bonner's face was displayed on banners, his name etched in the annals of history. He had become a symbol of the ultimate sacrifice, and his bravery would inspire generations to come. As the memorial service came to a close, Earth's leaders made an important announcement. The tank, once seen as a relic, would be preserved as a national treasure. It would stand as a constant reminder of humanity's strength and determination. It would be placed in the heart of the capital, where future generations could come to see it and learn from its legacy. The tank had become more than just a piece of military technology. It had become a symbol of hope, of survival, and of the power of the human spirit. In the years that followed, Earth's reputation in the galaxy changed. No longer seen as a weak and defenseless planet, humanity was now respected by the other races. The victory over the alien fleet had proven that Earth was a force to be reckoned with. Other alien species, once dismissive of humanity, now regarded Earth with caution and respect. The lesson had been learned. Never underestimate humanity. And so, as Earth moved forward, the legacy of the tank, Bonner, and his team lived on. The world had been forever changed by their bravery and sacrifice. The alien invaders had learned their lesson, and humanity had proven that it would never be crushed, never be broken, and never be forgotten. The battle for Earth had been won, and the future was bright. Humanity had earned its place among the stars.